Am I the asshole for kicking my uncle out of his house? I am male 23, and I was very close to my grandfather, who passed away last year. He left me his entire estate, including the house after my grandmother divorced him. Before he passed, my grandmother asked him to let her son, my uncle, 50 male, who isn't biologically related to my grandfather, rent the houses. They set up a 3-year contract for $1,800 a month, with the option to buy the house for $377,000 at the end. The contract ends this November. After a lengthy probate process, the house is now officially in my name. My uncle asked if I'd extend the contract due to high interest rates, but I declined because I'm hoping to buy my own home soon. My grandmother pressured me, saying, "It's family," so I reluctantly agreed to extend the contract for another 3 years. While waiting for a new contract to be drafted, my uncle asked if he could start construction on the houses. I said no, but later found out through a friend of mine who was actually doing the work that my uncle had already begun construction without my permission. I went to check, and sure enough, major work had been done without permits. When I confronted him, he denied it until I showed him photos. He claimed it was his house and that he could do whatever he wanted. Later, during a family holiday, my uncle and his girlfriend ambushed me, proposing a 5-year contract with lower rent, no restrictions on construction, and permission to sublet. I refused and told them I'd have my lawyer draft the contract instead. Throughout the probate process, they had shared their contract preferences with me, but I made it clear I'd have my lawyer handle it once the house was officially mine. A few months later, my uncle, his girlfriend, and my grandmother sent me the 5-year contract they had proposed. I firmly declined. My grandmother then called, berating me for not signing it, saying that if it weren't for her, I wouldn't have inherited anything from my grandfather. At that point, I lost my temper and said, "You've got to be effing kidding me." She responded, "Your grandfather would be disappointed in you for using that language with me." I replied, "Don't use my grandfather against me," and hung up. Since then, my grandmother and uncle have cut me off. I had my lawyer draft a new contract, 3 years, no subletting, and a clause requiring my approval for any construction. Everything else in the contract remains the same as the original one my grandfather created. Now, my uncle is saying he can only qualify for $350,000 instead of the $377,000 he agreed to, and my family is pressuring me to accept the lower offer. They're accusing me of forcing him out. Am I the asshole for refusing his contract, insisting he pay the full $377,000, and standing my ground despite family pressure?